Hello.
Hi, sorry, it's hot.
The whole East Coast is melting, I believe.
I can't stand it. I hate summer everywhere.
It's
Hi,
gross.
everybody.
Nice to see you all.
We see you all here in the chat. Hello. Yes, it is train wreck time.
Yes, we are going through comments. Let me pop all of these up. Hello to everybody. Sorry, I love that everybody like intertalks on chat. It's great. So
I know. I think it's wonderful.
Find who's where.
We just sit here for the first like 5-10 minutes and just watch you guys talk to each other.
I know. Because we can see the comments before we go live, which is kind of fun. Miss Linda.
Yeah, it's awful. I hate summer.
We got the usual suspects. I love it. That's what I love.
As always.
So many things.
So many things. Our dearest friends.
So what's new down in North Kakalaki, as we used to say in Georgia?
Let me think. It's hot and gross and getting hotter.
Ugh.
And Coy and I have like major front yard renovation we're doing.
Oh God. Not in this heat.
I know. And it's just like we're gonna be in like the high 90s, which coming from Arizona, we're no freaking joke, guys. It's like 116 in Phoenix right now.
Right.
But
it's dry, right?
It's yeah, they say that. It is worse than here, even with the humidity. But I just, when I lived in Arizona, I wasn't doing yard work.
Right.
In Phoenix. So now Coy and I, we're like building a little retaining wall around our front bed, and our bed is huge, and laying down new mulch and doing all this. And we would have done it earlier in the year, except that I didn't have the money to do it until now. So,
and that ain't cheap.
No. Especially when you have to have it delivered. I mean, I have a car now, but it's a little 2-door coupe. So I'm not getting 50 bags of mulch in this little car. At least. Yeah. And I'm not willing to, make the huge commute 5,000 times to bring like 10 bags of mulch. No.
Oh God. Jonathan said it's going to be 101 even in Mass next week. I know we're going to get 90 to 86 today in Maine. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's insane.
It's awful. It's awful. So yeah, we've got yard work to do that we're not thrilled about. So yeah, I can't wait until fall. And I've already started buying like new Halloween decorations.
Of course you have.
And yeah, because like, fortunately, summer's back here, there is an end in sight.
Yeah.
In Phoenix, there isn't.
It's center of the sun all the time.
All the time. It's fall or summer and later that summer. It's
Yep.
But yeah, it's the humidity is definitely a thing. I'm not trying to discount that. But
116 is 116 no matter how you shake it. That's hot as shit. Like that's just called a spade a spade.
It is. Yeah, it's awful. And my electric bills in Phoenix in an apartment. So 1-story, bottom floor apartment, 2-3-bedroom apartment would be in the 400s.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
Every month for 5 months. My electric bill this month, $129, and I have a 2-story, 2,500 square foot house.
Right, little more doable.
So
much you can cool it off inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Jesus. It's nice. Coy and I hate to be hot. We overheat really easily, especially me with the lupus. Just sitting here, my body's like, we're overheating. Let's start sweating.
Yeah.
And then with menopause and the hot flashes, like, we're going too. It's a thing. So our AC upstairs, we have 2 different thermostats to control the upstairs and the downstairs, which is good because my mother is 5'5". She weighs 114 pounds. She freezes all the time. So she keeps the air off downstairs. And then it's a walk-in freezer up here. So
it's funny to me when Corey and Jen were like a couple weeks ago, like, oh yeah, I guess we need to start thinking about getting the air conditioners out of the basement. I'm like, I don't even know what that means because I'm from the South where there's central AC everywhere. So to live in a space that doesn't have, like, everybody has to pull their windows out of the basement. And I'm like, I don't understand.
I don't know what that means. What are you talking about? I don't know what that means.
Yeah. No.
Although in Payson, when I was growing up, which is a town about 90 miles north of Phoenix up in northern Arizona, a lot of my family had swamp coolers.
Yeah.
So I know those are.
We know those tailgates.
But yeah, otherwise everybody, just about everybody in the Valley of the Sun has central area.
Yeah, can't
guys.
It's good to see everybody. I also want to say, so one of my fellow co-workers at the farm, Sue Vickery, a lot of you are probably familiar with Sue from her time at both Lizzie Borden House and Maplecroft.
Oh, I have lots of questions for her.
She is one of the I would
love to talk to Sue.
And a plethora of all kinds of knowledge. And it's funny, Ken and Don and I always go get coffee at Miss Lizzie's coffee house. I won't give Lizzie Borden my money with the current ownership. So
sure.
We happened to be sitting having coffee as we do at this place. And we were like, oh, I wonder how Sue's been. Haven't seen Sue. Somebody should check in with Sue. And then 30 seconds later, I'm not even kidding, she walks up the stairs in the coffee shop. We're like, what are the chances?
There are no coincidences.
No coincidence.
None.
Coincidences.
Coincidences.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Boy, do we have a show tonight.
We do have a show tonight. We do have a show tonight, and it was one that we had been talking about when we were planning. Well, that was weird. Yeah. And we were like, do we want to talk about this? If we do, when do we want to talk about this? And we weren't really sure we wanted to quite yet.
With everything going on at the time with the house at the, with the farm, it just didn't feel like the right time to do that.
Yeah. Because you guys, I don't even know if you realize this yet, Erin, but our 1 year anniversary is coming up in
August. I know, it's insane.
So there was still a lot going on a year ago that, we weren't really sure. And of course, with all things related to the farm, I'm always going to defer to Erin and Cody and Satori and Corey and Jen, because they're the ones that, they worked there, they lived there, they, this is something that, while I have a small part in some of it, this is really your story. So I really, whenever you were ready, I was ready too. So that is tonight.
Yeah. I want to start off by saying, when this first went down, when we started putting some puzzle pieces together, the current owner of the Conjuring House told me under no certain terms was I to open my mouth to anyone about this at all. In her words, we have the public Conjuring House and the private Conjuring House. So I was basically flat out told I could not discuss this situation outside of our circle. And that's kind of where it stayed. Is weird stuff happening in your house already? I wouldn't be surprised.
It sounds like waves of rain are hitting my house.
Is that what it is? Yeah. I keep, given the subject matter, I keep either waiting for the finger in the back, which we'll explain, or something weird.
Yeah, I kind of, there's
a lot of options for things to get weird here. So that's appropriate for the show. I think Carrie's frozen, and maybe it's actually me that's frozen, which would be the start of the chaos. Will you guys let me know in chat if you can see me talking or if it's Carrie that's frozen? That'd be great. Let's see what happens. Let me know if you guys are frozen. Okay, so I'm not frozen. Carrie, you may want to hop out and hop back in and see if that helps you kind of get in the mix. Okay, so where do we begin? I am fully aware that as this unfolds, that there may be, I don't think a lot of you in this group will doubt it, but I am very, very well aware that there are people that could definitely think I'm lying. Because this is pretty bananas. What basically transpired over about a year and a half with this situation. So we'll start at the beginning. So you guys have to kind of bear with me because there's a lot of moving parts to this. Should I have written it down in a chronological format? Absolutely, I should have, but then we wouldn't be the train wreck that we are known to be. So, as a lot of you know, my very first trip to the farmhouse was in June of 2022. I went up with my friend Julie, and we met up with Jonathan and Ron touring the house. Met Bill Brock up there. Okay. I think we're back. Can you guys let me know if you can see me? I'm so sorry about that, guys. What a pain in the butt. Can you guys see me? Awesome. All right, let me text Carrie back real quick. All right, sorry for the interruption, although none of this surprises me whatsoever. We have a special visitor in the background, but I don't know if he wants to come on stage or not. He can hit the on stage button if he wants to visit. Oh, the boss man. Look at everybody.
What's going on?
So I started to talk, and then my Wi-Fi went out and Carrie's power went out at about the same time.
Well, Cody and I are going to do a song from our latest album for you.
Perfect. And I don't even need to be on screen. I'll sit back with some popcorn and watch that instead.
No, we don't want
that. Although given the subject matter, the power issues are not surprising at all.
It's unbelievable.
Hey, listen, everybody who's in chat, everybody's watching. Thanks for hanging with us. Actually, I just went in to do a couple of things on the channel. Saw a blank screen. I was like, okay.
She's never late.
I just wanted to make sure the show was still created. You didn't have to make a new one. So, all right, I'm gonna let you guys get back to it. Then, where's Carrie?
We should be hopping back in. Her power went out.
Here she is.
All right.
Is back.
All right.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hi guys.
They were going to do a song off their new album for us in the meantime.
Well, you guys saved the day, so we'll have to wait.
Yeah,
I'm kind of
I'm done. Wait a minute. I'm just going to exit out.
We're going to exit
out.
No.
I had the dead air alarm was going off in the house here. You know, red lights are flashing and everything. Mayday, Mayday.
Danger, Will Robinson, the red button.
That's it. All right, I'm gonna bugger off because you guys have a great show lined up. So
we hope. I mean, all of a sudden we start talking about it, and then I didn't realize Erin went out too.
I had a
Cody, I'll meet you at the bar. Okay.
All right. Let's go. Bye.
Thanks, Cody.
All right. I'm gonna meet you at the bar too.
Bye.
Bye.
We're gonna try this again. I didn't get anywhere, honestly. So, as I said earlier, there may be people on here that don't believe this situation because I am fully aware of how absolutely insane most of this is going to sound. We have hit on this. I've hit a little bit on it in other podcasts, but I've never told the story publicly. I was advised by a very dear friend who's very wise in this field when I told him the story that I needed to wait a little bit for things to sort of settle down. So, okay, so here we go. Fingers crossed. Noah, you may not like this, but we're going anyway. So this all started, my first trip, June 2022. You know, had some experiences, met my British soldier bodyguard, had a great time, met a bunch of people. No involvement with the farm at that point. So Andrea was asked by the current owner to fly up for the Halloween weekend because they were planning on showing the movie, The Conjuring, in the Conjuring house. So
it was the 10-year anniversary from the release of the movie, right?
That'll be next summer. That'll be in 2023.
Oh, right.
This is Halloween of 2022.
Damn, this has been going on that long. Shit. Okay, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, it's been going on that long.
Wow. All right.
So Halloween 2022, Andrea and I fly up to Rhode Island. It's my first time meeting the current owner. It's my first time meeting the Heinzens and Reed and Steve and some of the other people I hadn't met yet. Yeah. I knew Ken, Cody, Satori, that whole crew already. So I'm acting as Andrea's handler that weekend.
Yes.
And I remember this guy coming into the house and I, those of us who are sensitive, you can spot somebody's energy from a mile away. And I'm like, something about this guy, I don't like him. He was just kind of being real kind of
obnoxious,
just a smart ass, kind of knew everything kind of thing. And I just sort of had Andrea sign his book. He went on about his day. Right. So that night, I left, took Andrea back to the hotel. And we got back to the hotel probably like 11:30. And unbeknownst to me, because Andrea is already upstairs and I was down outside taking a breather. And then Carrie starts calling, and I didn't answer it the first time because I didn't catch it. And then she's calling over and over again, and I'm like, uh-oh.
I called Andrea too.
So this is where Carrie has to step in and kind of, because let me make this very clear. This situation, really being able to start identifying things and putting some pieces together, even though this was just starting, really has to do with Carrie's abilities and what she picked up on and how this spirit chose her in North Carolina. Okay, your turn, go.
Yeah. Also, Mary Beth, she asked Andrea needs a handler for her public events because she has such crowds. Not like
it's making sure the line moves and, taking money and just trying to make it easier for her to just sign stuff. And then I'm kind of crowd control, sort of money taker.
Yeah. Kind of so just for events, not illness.
Handler.
Wise.
Silly word.
Yeah. So I guess it was 2022. So you said this was October. So
there was a lot. We were doing a live stream that night.
Yes, there was a live stream going on at the farmhouse, and people were investigating, and there was, live cameras in various areas of the farmhouse. Mm-hmm. So I had, this was back when I was doing my paintings, which, by the way, Melissa, I haven't forgotten about you. I swear it's right here. But back when I was doing my paintings, you can see one back here.
Yep.
And I was doing crystal paintings, and it was a commissioned piece. So it was very involved, very detailed, involving gluing crystals down on a canvas. It was involved. Right. So I'm at my desk and I turn on the
thunder. Ooh, that you can hear it. That's loud. That's big thunder.
Which this storm is getting rowdier every time we start to talk about this.
I know.
So let me try to get this out before I go away again.
You're right.
So I decided to turn on the live stream on Facebook so that I have something to listen to and watch while I'm working on this. Everybody's like, whoa. While I'm working on this commission piece. And I'm in it maybe a couple of minutes. And it's one of those situations, if you guys watched it, you can see every single room that has a live feed. And out of nowhere, I feel this person rush up to me. Whoa, did you guys... Okay. You need to calm down. Okay?
Listen, it tracks. It tracks for the subject matter. This
absolutely does.
It tracks.
It's okay. So this person comes rushing up to me in my mind, and is yelling at me. You need to stop them. You need to stop them. This is not a science experiment. This is a home. This is a home. You need to stop them. You need to stop them. And I was blown literally back in my chair because it was almost if somebody came up to you from nowhere when you're just walking down the street, screaming in your face. It was startling. And it was 5 months after Andrea blew open my third eye. So I'm still real new to my abilities. And this was a new one. It's part of the whole why we call the show Well, That Was Weird, because it was one of those things where it was that's how this new ability was given to me. It was introduced to me. So I did.
Literally
I started
in your face.
freaking literally in my face. So I started freaking out because I didn't know who this was. I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that it was related to the farmhouse. So I did. I started calling Erin, and I knew it was late, but I also knew that they had been there kind of late. So I'm like, I hope they're not in bed. I hope whatever. Yeah. Erin didn't answer. I tried calling her a couple of times. She didn't answer. I called Andrea, and Andrea, bless her, was just getting into bed to go to bed. And I'm like, Andrea, this is what's happening. And Andrea had always been very good for the last 5 months of letting me call her and kind of walking me through what I was experiencing and kind of how to handle it and stuff, even though she never knows how it's going to affect people, but she's very good at kind of calming you through a freak out when your abilities are new. Yeah. So she was like, I think I know who that is. She's like, I'm getting ready to go to bed, but give Erin a call. I'm like, I tried calling Erin. She didn't answer. I was like, told on Erin to Andrea. I'm like, she's not answering my call. She's like, try calling her again. She was downstairs talking to so-and-so. I'm like, okay. As soon as I get off the phone with Andrea, Erin, you either call me or I call you back, or somehow Erin and I finally connect, and I tell Erin what happened. And I'm kind of panicking because I don't know who this is.
You were in tears.
Yes.
And because he was right here.
Yes, and Erin, bless her heart, she had the calm wherewithal to talk to him directly and kind of calm him down. But Erin, tell them what happened to me from your end of it.
So the person we're talking about, let me go and give names, because I know Mary Beth asked if this guy's not alive anymore. The man we are discussing, and we'll get more into who this guy is here in a bit, but just for the record, we're talking about Noah Arnold Jr. Oh, that's not the right picture. Hold on. I'll give you there we go. Died in 1822. He was 85. So he's been dead a long time.
He's been gone for a minute.
Yeah, she's called me. She's and I've met Carrie's as tough as they come. So for her to be in tears before like even started telling me, like I knew something was bad. So she's regurgitating what this spirit said to her. And then very quickly it morphed into now she's channeling him, and now she's screaming at me. He's screaming at me through her. So he's basically reiterating the same stuff. This lack of respect. And I mean, he's just going on. And I'm like, okay. So it dawns on me that when she starts talking about the disrespect, that I knew exactly who he was talking about, because it was the guy that I'd seen earlier in the day. And I knew he was staying for the investigation that night. So I explained, I said, I'm really sorry. I said, please understand that gentleman does not work at the farm. He doesn't represent the farm. He is just there. You know everybody, you live there, everybody that works at the farm treats that house with the utmost respect. Is very important to us, but I will talk to everybody else at the farm basically tomorrow when I go back, because we've been there all day, and I had never spent that much time in the farm at once. I was wiped. But I think that conversation with him went on about 20 minutes before you finally.
And I don't remember, I remember you talking to him, but I don't remember
what was said or anything.
What was said. It was kind of like I was just watching you have a conversation with somebody. And we didn't know, I was like, Erin, who is this?
Nothing. We knew nothing.
She didn't know.
We had no idea. We didn't get it. There was no name given. Just a very angry colonial spirit.
Yeah.
So of course,
even just listening to you tell it, I'm like, my eyes are watering, and I'm not sad and I'm not scared about it, but that I'm remembering how that felt, and I'm like, it was so scary. It's really scary, you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm really okay now. I know that energy.
Boy, don't we.
Better than anything now. But yeah, just remembering that, I'm like, whoa, shit. I forgot how crazy that was.
It was a lot. Yeah. So we were able to get kind of the gist of what was going on. I promised him when I went back to the house, because of course we had another night of this and then one more day, that I would try to figure out what was going on, why he was so upset, aside from that.
Oh, so mad.
Person, he was just generally furious.
Yeah. He just kept saying, this is a home. This is a home. This isn't a science experiment. This is a home. And I'm like, what is going on in the house? Because I'm watching all the cameras, and then you've got to get rid of him, or I can't remember what it was he said, but it was about one specific person. And Erin's like, I think I know who it is. And I was like, oh, okay.
So we go back the next day. And at some point, it's Reed and Reed worked with us as well.
Yeah. No, Jonathan, he was upset about this one particular guy.
And I promise we're going to answer all these questions as I get through it. There's just a lot to this. There's a whole lot of moving parts with this bad boy. So just bear with me as we kind of get through it. But so Reed is very much a sensitive as well. He picks up on a lot of things. I had we were standing in the parlor, which is when you walk in the main door of the house, where the fireplace and the stairs to the basement and all of that.
Oh, okay.
To read about it, and I'm trying to explain to him what I'm seeing, because Reed at that point was working. He'd been there a long time. He knew everything that was going on, and I'm trying to explain it to him. And Reed's eyes got big like saucers, and he's like, and then I felt this cool breeze go behind me, and of course I've never felt that. I, being from Florida, I'm immediately like, "Where's the vent?" And I'm like, 1600s house. There is no air conditioning. There is no cool breeze, right? And Reed's got this look of panic, and he's like, he doesn't want you talking about this. He's very upset. He doesn't want you talking about this. And I turned around and I'm like, listen, I said, I know that you're upset for whatever reason. I said, I am trying to get you an answer. I'm trying to figure out what's going on, but I can't do that if I don't talk about what happened last night.
Right.
I said, so if you want me to talk, to figure this out, you're going to have to let me have some conversations, right? And I think Reed was actually the first person to mention the name Noah that night.
Oh.
He was pretty spicy. He was kind of mad. They hadn't really named him, but for whatever reason, Reed kind of figured out that particular name. So,
yeah, because for a while we started calling him our friend.
Because we really didn't know who it was. He didn't identify for a long time. So I said at that point, okay, if you want me to figure out this answer, do you want me to go talk to Andrea? Do you want to talk to Andrea? Please let us know. Do something in the room so I know, because I certainly don't want to overstep my bounds in this house. I'm new here. I don't even work here. Just here for the weekend. And there used to, and I don't know if it was still there when I was working there because I never paid attention, but there used to be a bell that hung on the outside of the door jamb. It wasn't a part of the door. It was on the wall.
Mm.
So it acted like a pendulum. And all of a sudden you see this bell just start like spinning.
Oh, wow.
Spinning. So I mentioned it to Andrea. Andrea has a private conversation. I don't even know what was said to try and get this guy to calm down.
Did she know who it was?
No, she had no idea. This spirit never identified till I walked on that property, and neither did she. Nope. So
it was wild.
That night, a lot of us were sitting in the kitchen because obviously we work at the house, they all worked at the house. I work for Andrea. We've all seen the movie. I don't need to sit and listen to the movie again. So a lot of us were sitting in the kitchen, and I remember saying to, I think it was Jen and Satori, I'm like explaining what happened the night before with Carrie. And Satori knew exactly who I was talking about because she was running that investigation with the guy that was disrespectful. And he was asking questions like, do Playboy bunnies go to heaven? Like just shit like that you just not in that house, like not today. And we kind of left it at that, right? Like we just, I thought I figured out the problem, and I figured out who the problem child was. And we assured that this spirit, that this person was not in the house anymore and that everything was fine.
Yeah.
And then I get back to Florida and he's standing in my laundry room. In my condo in Florida, we always walked in through the back door and there's the laundry room. And as soon as I opened the door in my third eye, he's this person, and I only knew it was from the farm because of the clothes, is standing in my condo. And I'm like, awesome sauce. So
yeah.
I thought that was weird, but initially I thought he was just kind of, because he would pop up randomly. Oh, that was a big flash behind you. Holy shit.
And I could only see it like in like green. I'm like, wait a minute. So,
obviously Carrie and I are having all kinds of discussions about what's going on and why is he in my house. And we kind of settled on the fact, and Andrew agreed at the time that.
Dude, that shook my house. That time it shook.
I bet. That's insane. Mine's holding out. We'll see how long. But basically just determined that this guy was in the house, that I had helped him before. And he seemed to pop up when there were things going on at the house, whether it was like an event or a live stream or something like that. He tended to show up at my house. It was a couple times a week, probably. He would pop out. It's not like he was standing there staring at me or anything, but he was always popping in and out. And this went on. That was October of 2022. And then we get to July of 2023.
Yeah. And he would pop in and out of my house as well.
And sometimes we'd be on the phone and he'd be in both places at once.
It was really, really weird.
Really
and he wasn't like, that was the only time he ever like came at me.
Yeah.
And I remember you were telling when you were like, okay, I talked to Tori and Jen, and they were asking you where I was. And you were like, she's in North Carolina. She just happened to turn the live on.
And they were like, what? Like,
yeah, it was bananas. But then, yeah, in that time span, he would kind of bounce between our two houses. Not all the time. It wasn't like he was either always here or always there.
Right.
But that's how we started calling him our friend, because that was the only time he ever came at me in like anger. Like, he wasn't like a friendly guy, but he also wasn't like really mad either.
Yeah.
He was just like, now I'm here.
My mom, as a possible spirit, was upset about the current owner. Looking back on it now, very much possibility. But I also wonder, he wasn't one to mince words. So I don't know. I think maybe
this guy was just like,
he was spicy a lot.
He was.
I firmly think when you hear
that was being disrespectful, he was wanted out of that house right then and there.
Yeah. And I also think he's oftentimes the guy, one of the spirits who will cuss at people when they're in the house. So anyway,
that wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. So of course, this isn't that big of a deal at the time. I mean, it's interesting and it's weird that this guy's in my house from Rhode Island, but didn't really. What my perception of what was happening and what is actually happening are two very different things. So we fast forward to July of 2023. I took the job as a kind of a backup caretaker because of camping. I refuse to call it gamping because I really think that's silly. But sorry, I said what I said.
I'm not even a fan of the word glamping.
Right.
So I get it.
It's silly. So, but let me just remind this entire audience that I have never worked at a haunted location. I had only done one investigation at that point. I had no experience taking that job. But again, you don't say no, right? And I'm like, okay, learning opportunity, crash course in all things paranormal. Let's do this. So Bean and I drive up from Florida, New England. And about a month before that, because Jacqueline and I had been talking, fairly consistently about the position and stuff. And I finally got the nerve to mention to her, because I knew I sounded crazy. I was like, I have to tell you this. This guy's been in my house since last Halloween. And I had done a pendulum session, kind of like Cody and Satori style with the.
Yeah, I remember that too.
And he told me his name was Noah Richardson. Gave me a date of birth, gave me a date of death, and Bernie, I just regurgitated all that information to the current owner, knowing full well that this woman's going to think I'm nuts. She's probably going to rescind my job. She came back to me and said, I can't find him anywhere. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. She couldn't find him in the family tree based off the name that we got. All right, that's fine. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. But he's still at my house. So I get to the farm. And until we had the 10-year release of the film that Carrie was
yes, that was the next year. That's right.
So Andrea's back up at the farm. So I'm double dutying. I'm working at the house, but then I'm also handling her. So
I'm avoiding all lives at that farm.
Yeah.
I'm not watching anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So, but part of that trip was obviously it was camping. So I was in charge of, I was the caretaker for camping. So we did outside tours, and then I would sleep outside in the tent, in the lower field, which for the first 3 nights was the scariest thing I've ever done. But that's another story for another day. And one of these days we were setting up for we were breaking down from the movie night. And, I just sat in the chair by the fire pit because I was just exhausted. Like when I hit that point, I'm so tired. I'm almost in tears, right? Like I felt like I'd done something wrong. Like I thought I'd screwed something up because all of a sudden somebody says to me, we need to talk. I think it was Satori. We need to talk to you about something. And I'm like, oh shit, what'd I do? So immediately I'm up in my chair.
Right. Scared.
And I'm like, oh my God, did I put somebody off? And she's like, maybe. Uh-oh. Did I freeze again? I think
you did. Yeah.
Can you hear me though?
Yes.
Okay. What a stellar frozen face, Erin. I think we're both frozen, in fact.
Oh, really? Great.
Yeah. So we may lose this again. But anyway, so they start telling me that unbeknownst to me, Jacqueline had done a session at her house to confirm basically like, okay, are you visiting Erin?
Uh-oh. And there she went. Okay. You guys can.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Am I gone?
Well, you're a green screen. We can hear you.
That's so weird. My whole computer's frozen. I can't do anything. He's so mad. I know he's so mad. I'm telling the story. I guarantee you that's what's happening.
Yeah,
So if my audio cuts out, let me know. I can't even leave the studio and come back in. My whole computer's frozen. So anyway.
Hey, bro, we're having technical issues.
Again.
Uh-oh. Erin? Okay. Yeah. The vibe in my house isn't great either. There she went. She just texted her whole computer crashed. Okay. All right. Well, all right. Oh, dear. Oh, no. Oh. This is insane, you guys. Yeah, he's not happy. But we really did not think that this was going to happen. Like, as we've said, this has been years on now. At least 2.5, but I mean, there's much more to the story that if we're able to get it out, you will understand why he's not happy. We're talking about it. Not that it's not a bad thing. And I don't want to, it's Erin's story now. Like, my part of it was that beginning. Ish. She said be back as soon as she can, and it's not the weather. If I drop off, it's the weather. So my part of it was in that very beginning. Oh,
Lord.
There she is.
I gave him a stern talking to in the meantime. My whole computer, I got the blue screen of death and everything.
Oh, okay. No. I know everybody was like, he's not happy. And I'm like, he's probably not.
He's mad because it makes him look bad and he knows it. So,
well, and that's the thing. That's what I was telling him. I'm like, I'm in the beginning, but this is Erin's story. And you guys, if we can finish telling the story, they will understand why he's not happy that we're talking about it. But, oh no, Erin.
Your audio is all squirrely.
Okay, so you're freezing.
Yeah. So if this ends up just crashing again, we may just have to kill this for another night. But hopefully, can you hear me? Are you there?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
You're frozen too. Yeah. I can hear you, but we're frozen. Okay. We're going to do our best. And if it kills one more time, we'll just end it for the night because I'll have to So I'm sitting at this fire pit, and now I found out that I've pissed somebody off, but I don't know who it is yet. I thought maybe thought it was somebody we worked with. I wasn't sure, but now I'm basically in tears because it's been a day. I'm exhausted, and now I've made somebody mad.
Yeah.
So now they're telling me all the information I gave Jacqueline. I'm not crazy. Basically validated that yes, this guy's been in my house, that he's got a bit of a crush, and his wife's big mad. She basically, through Cody and Satori, told them to get me out of the house. It's also not super helpful in this instance that apparently I look exactly like her.
There's no apparently you do, because she showed up in my house.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
Right. So now we would like to introduce to you one Ann Richardson. Ann Richardson, there's not a lot of information out there about Ann. I have done some research as much as I can. One, we can't even find a gravesite for her. But to give you guys reference.
Hey, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
You're plagued with tech issues, and it's not a coincidence.
No, it's not. And Michelle has a big role in this too, which we're going to get to that in a bit as well.
Yeah.
But they think she died around 1787. So this is old stuff. And she's pissed. She's pissed. So of course now I'm freaking out because number one, I've got this I've got two ghosts, one that's basically stalking me. His wife hates my guts, and I've got to sleep outside tonight. So I'm like, well, what do I do? And Cody and Satori were like, I think we need to go to the house and hash this out with them up there. And I'm like, fudge. Okay. So we go up to the house. They tap in. And of course, Jacqueline recorded all this, but would not give me the video. I'd love to be able to show that session to you guys. But basically, Reed was in there as well. I'm in the chair and I'm shaking as they're pulling this in. But basically, they're confirming that, and of course, if Cody's or Satori's in here, they can tell me if I'm getting some of this wrong. But you can, and it's funny because the knocking is happening, like you can hear they're arguing over there, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And first we were talking to Abigail, who was kind of playing intermediary. Now, I know this is getting where things get all over the place. Ann Richardson, my twin from a former life, apparently, is John Arnold's mother. So John and Abigail, that everybody knows, Ann Richardson is John Arnold's mother, just to give you guys kind of an idea of where she falls within the family. And she's real mad. And at the time I explained to her, I was like, listen, I'm really sorry. I was like, at the time was married still. I was like, my husband is super hot. He's my ex-husband now, but he's still super hot. I'm not interested in your husband. I'm here to work. I'm here to learn. That's all I'm here for. And this went on for probably like 20 minutes. I can't remember all the details, but basically left it with, she was going to try and just tolerate me. I think her response was actually fine. And then she told one of us to cover our legs, which I still maintain was.
I mean, okay, I'm sorry. They are listening. So like, I'm sorry. To laugh about it is rude.
It's a coping mechanism. It is
a coping because this is so weird.
It's the different, like we had this big, long, heavy conversation and I'm in tears, shaking, and she ends it basically with cover your legs. And so Satori and I still kind of jokingly argue. I'm like, I had pants on, you had on a very cute knee-length dress. So I think she was talking to you.
Way to go, Satori.
So now I'm like, well, shit, I've still got 2.5 weeks that I have to stay here on this property. And I marched my happy ass back to the tent. I wasn't happy, honestly. I was freaked out. And I called Ken, right? And it's like 11:30 at night. And so Ken, of course, is like, great. So he picks up the phone and I dump all this on him. And he's like,
everybody's paranormal dad.
He is everybody's paranormal dad. And he's like, well, shit, I thought you were going to call and tell me something stupid, like a chair flew across the room. Because again, I didn't have a lot of experience. He's like, and you're going to drop this shit in my lap? I'm like, welcome to my world. So that was my introduction to Ann Richardson. And very shortly after, I started feeling 2 fingers in my back, right smack, like right below my bra line. And if anybody's ever been touched by a spirit, like you feel it's tingly and it is very much a distinct feeling. And it always felt like she was standing right behind me, just trying to scare me off the property. And I get why she was angry. We hadn't quite figured it out to a large extent, but we do believe that Noah may have been a bit of a ladies' man and or didn't treat her very well.
Which, no offense, but it would have been common for the
time period.
That time period.
Right. So I told her, I was like, I get it. I don't blame you for being mad, but I promise you, I don't want your man. So this finger thing in the back, it was basically constant the whole time I was at the farm. So I'm thinking, okay, when I leave Florida, this will stop. Nope. Those fingers stayed in my back on and off for months.
Yeah.
They both started showing up at my house together. And, every time I'd feel them in the room, I kept trying to tell her, like, it's okay for you guys to be here. You're welcome here. Florida's nice. But I respect your space. I would ask that you respect my space. Let's just, keep things like they are.
Yeah. It was almost like she no longer wanted him to go by himself.
Correct. And I don't blame her.
So then they were both coming to my house, and I'm like, why are you here?
Mm-hmm.
Just here, not
hanging out.
They wouldn't, and it wasn't long. Like,
no, they pop in and out. It's not like they hung out for hours on end. I mean,
yeah, they would just kind of pop in and out. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I was clearly on their radar now. Like,
oh yeah, because they were popping in and out for both. So,
yeah,
of course, so I was there for the 3 weeks in July, and then I went back up in September.
Yes,
for Ocean State Paracon.
Yeah.
So, I was again doing both. I wasn't working at the farm. I think I actually flew up that weekend. So I was just helping Andrea that weekend and just hanging out at the house when I wanted to. But I was exhausted. I had burned the candle at both ends. I had 5 bosses in one location that weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
It was pouring rain. It was crazy. We had a blast, but I was exhausted. So
yeah,
I
was bummed that Laura and I had to miss that one.
It was really fun, minus the weather. Yeah. But I was exhausted. I had been burning the candle at both ends. I was not taking care of myself energetically whatsoever. So I think this point, that September 2023 is when things started to shift.
Yeah.
Then we're getting, the fingers in the back still happening. But I didn't realize at the time what was happening. I remember at one point, I think it was in October or November, I drove down to Daytona. I don't remember driving there. I don't drink, by the way. I was checked out. I just was in Daytona. I live in St. Augustine. It's a 54-mile drive from my house to Daytona. And then I started thinking, okay, something's not right here.
Yeah.
And then
she was always so worried, like when we would talk on the phone, and because this is when Laura and I were still doing History of a Haunting, and Erin was doing a lot of work for us with my podcast. And she was just worried, constantly worried.
Well, and it's weird because now that I'm thinking about it, I don't really remember a lot in that period. Like there's gaps. Not saying I was oppressed. I'm not saying I wasn't possessed. I'm not saying any of that, but I was clearly being affected, but I wasn't picking up on it.
Yes.
So I was there in September. I was back again for Halloween. And at this point, every time I walk on the property, it's like a mea culpa again before I even get there. Like, I work here. I'm here to work. I would reiterate that intent over and over weeks before I went, every time I was on the property. And I also would stay out of the house. I didn't go in the house that much because I wanted to respect her space, right? Because I usually stayed at the camper anyway.
Which was a whole other...
That's a whole other thing.
Ball of wax.
There was a suicide in that camper, and we'll leave it at that for now. But I apparently was really, really struggling. And then I was really angry. I was crying all the time. And I'm not an angry person. I mean, I'm Irish, and I used to get big mad, but I don't really get mad anymore. But I was, it was starting to get unhealthy. And I remember even Justin at one point was like, Erin, something's not right. You are not you. Like he even was like, something's not right.
Wow.
And I finally figured out the Friday before Christmas that this has morphed into an attachment, because what I was feeling was not mine. None of it was mine. And of course, as an energy healer, it's my job to recognize that kind of shit. But I clearly couldn't recognize the change in myself. And I don't really think, because most of my friends don't live nobody lived anywhere near me. Nobody really picked up on it because they didn't see me that much. We didn't talk on the phone a lot. Like,
right.
It wasn't something you would necessarily readily recognize. But when Justin said something, I was like, okay. So at that point, and this is very important, people, I realized I was out of my depth. I realized that the things I normally did to clear my energy were no longer working, and that I needed to call people who knew a lot more about what was going on than I do. So I wanted to get through Christmas, because of course I wasn't going to call anybody on Christmas weekend about this. I was like, okay, we just got to get through Christmas, and then we'll make calls on Monday or Tuesday.
Where you and I part ways, because I would have. Merry Christmas. How was it? Great. Okay, let's have a conversation.
Right. So, but what was weird is I was going to tell Andrea first. So that was on a Sunday. So I called her, and Miss Carolyn was still alive at that point. And she's like, oh my God, so funny that you're calling us. She goes, we're here with mom, and mom just sat up in bed and said, Erin brought a friend back from the farm. And I was like, well, that's all the validation I needed. I hadn't told them anything.
No, you hadn't.
They knew about, Andrea knew about Noah and a little bit about Anne, but Carolyn didn't know anything because we didn't tell Carolyn about that. But she knew. So
Erin brought a friend back from the farm.
Erin brought a friend back from the farm. And I was like, great. So this is an attachment now. So anyway, that Monday, I ended up calling Corey and Jen first. And they both gave me some extra things that I could do to clear the space in my house, clear the energy out a little bit better. Just some things I hadn't thought of, things I wasn't aware of. And I did every single one of those things religiously for 5 months or 4 months. Black salt, white candles, like just all kinds of normal stuff, but I just really like ramped it up. And then I called Michelle Roos. We've had Michelle on Dead Air before. We're going to have her on our show eventually. Michelle is a incredibly brilliant woman. She's a demonologist. She's an exorcist. She's an investigator, and I trust her to the nth degree. Me too. And I thought, obviously I didn't call her because I needed an exorcism, but
it didn't get that bad, guys.
Right. Yeah. Like we didn't need a demonologist or an exorcist, but I value what her advice would be. So gave her the full skinny. Oh, I totally missed her whole experience at Ocean State. Maybe I'll get back to that in a minute. Because she picked up on Anne at Ocean State. But anyway, this is where things start to get even squirrelier. So yeah, I didn't tell her much at first. She's like, well, can I tap in? I said, yeah, go ahead, tap into my house. And she called me back. She's like, why am I seeing a woman in your condo, but there's also a man, but he's standing in the corner like he's in trouble? Which is funny because when we first tapped into Noah and Anne at the farm that summer, we had he sort of got spiritually spanked with a spiritual spoon was kind of what we said, because he was very embarrassed about his behavior, and and so Michelle immediately picked up. So anyway, we are trying to figure out, how do I handle this? Because now it's an attachment. It's been going on for months. I was completely unaware. I've been doing all this protection. So she's like, let's take a couple days. Let me think on what kind of I want to help you handle this. And she came back to me and she said, she goes, I don't know if you're comfortable doing this. She's like, I don't feel like ripping that energy off, like a cord cutting or, some other ritual to force her energy off of me. She goes, I don't think that's the right move. She's like, if you are comfortable with it and you're willing to sit with this and talk to her, find your common ground. And of course, our common ground potentially was my first marriage was incredibly abusive. Potentially hers was too. So I started doing things like inviting her to join me on my walks with the dog and joining me to go eat sushi, joining me. Like I started taking Anne everywhere with me. One of Michelle's suggestions too was put a boundary around your house and don't let Noah in unless Anne says it's okay.
Earn her trust that way. Brilliant.
So, because the goal, she's like, I feel like you guys can learn to coexist.
The second I said that, the thunder, earn her trust that way. Brilliant. The thunder was like,
So at that point, it was like, okay, I have a decision to make. Like, am I willing? And I was never really scared of Anne, but it was very uncomfortable. Like, I knew Carolyn Perrin. I've looked in those eyes and heard what she went through. And I certainly didn't want to be the next one with a tomato stake in my leg, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, well, I'll try it. I'll tap in, start trying to do some research on her. And just start taking her everywhere with me. And I, any burn ceremonies, cleansings I would do for anything. I just brought her along with me. Yeah. And I'm still doing all this other stuff, the spiritual stuff that, I'd been suggested to by Corey, Jen, Michelle, Zaphis, you. I mean, everybody had an option. I had like a 30-step process. Not really 30 steps, but it was a lot. But we basically decided on the fact that this is a situation, and I think this is important for people to know too, aside from knowing when you're out of your depth. Yeah. Not all attachments are horrible. Like, it wasn't fun, but she wasn't going after me. I mean, she had her fingers in my back, but it started to kind of morph the more I worked with her. and it turned from being fingers in the back because I hate your guts and I want to kind of want to scare you, to I just want you to know I'm here today. Like, it took me 4 or 5 months, and we finally got to the point where I said to her, I'm like, listen, we can always be connected, but you don't have to be attached. You are always welcome in my house. He's got to stay outside. But, you know, in a modern era, women have many more rights. We don't have to put up with abuse. We are allowed to have a voice. And I've been down the same path that you have, just much, much later with a somewhat better justice system in place. Not really, but it's a little bit better. And just tried to find like common ground with her. And she did finally kind of let go. I remember feeling it. It was almost like a pop. And then it was done. You know, but it was interesting because I was still working at the farm. The shit had already hit the fan by the time this was basically over. And it's weird because actually the attachment.
Thank God, because.
Yeah, the attachment finally let go right about the time we quit. I'm pretty sure within about a week.
I feel like it was around that time. Yeah, it was like, you were like, she's gone. I mean, as far as like being actually attached to you. Yeah.
Correct. So, and the last time I was at the farm, I'd had a couple of scary experiences, and she would come in and put her whole hand on my back, but we'd now morphed from I'm scared to death. So she's like, I'm here. She kind of became a protector.
Yeah.
Finally, by the time I quit, and I'm so pissed that we had to quit because obviously we worked so hard to get to where we were at.
Yeah.
And then we lost them all together. So
yeah,
that's about as abbreviated version of the story I can get.
Yeah.
I do want to hit on one thing when I was talking about Michelle. Michelle had come up for Ocean State. She was a featured speaker at that event. And Ken had asked her would she and Brittany be willing to help with the investigations that weekend? Because, of course, the house is packed. Nights were booked. Ken was fried because he runs OSP. And she's like, yeah, sure, no problem. So they've come to the house for the first time. She lives in Iowa. I don't think at that point she'd even been to the East Coast. So we're in the house talking in the kitchen, and all of a sudden Michelle's eyes are huge. Now, she's not really aware of this story yet because I was told I wasn't allowed to say anything. But I'd never seen Michelle look like that. And she's like, this woman is screaming at you. She's right in your face. She's shaking her fingers. She wants you out of this house. And the current owner immediately shut it down. I was not allowed to talk about it. In fact, the advice I was given by the current owner, now I'm just going to get spicy because I don't give a shit. I was basically told by her when this first started that summer was that she owns the house. Basically that she owns them. That I was living, this woman was dead, and that I just basically needed to tell her to fuck off, basically. And of course, I was not going to take that advice. And when Corey heard that advice, he was not really happy. He's like, you're not going to do that. I'm like, no. But she reiterated the advice again when Michelle was at the farm. So anime, that's my long, wild, what was I called? The interdimensional harlot for a while.
Harlot, yeah.
But my point in all of this is the three biggest lessons I've learned. One, that house pushed me further than anything else ever has. It constantly put me out of my comfort zone. It forced me to kind of grow a pair, for lack of a better phrase. But it also taught me that not all attachments are terrible. So I think, there obviously are.
Right, but that's not to say
there are plenty of terrible ones.
Just sit with it. Yeah, no, it's right. Very different for everything.
But it's not cause necessary. In my case, it wasn't cause for panic. But where it was important was knowing I was out of my depth and that my knowledge was not enough to navigate this situation. So if you ever find yourself, well, I don't know how many people are going to find themselves in an interdimensional love triangle with two dead people, but here we are.
That really sounds like something I would do.
Right. So you just have to, for me, the biggest lessons were trust the people around you and use the knowledge base of the friends who know a lot more than you. And then also, I think the other biggest lesson was, in this instance, you were dealing with an angry woman who was angry for a reason. But I also feel like, and I think Michelle would agree, she picked me for a reason. she needed that voice. And we did at one point, I remember calling Reed, and I think it had to have been in March of 2024. So right before before we all left. Reed was doing an investigation. I was in Florida. And I told Ann, I'm like, I know you've got something to say. Like, I couldn't find anything about her. I couldn't, find her grave. I couldn't find anything about her outside of the small little bits and pieces of information that I could find. But she needed a voice. And for whatever reason, it ended up being me. I'm sorry that it started off so salty. But at the same time, it was like, it gave me an opportunity to take what could have been a really nasty situation, both on my end and hers.
Yeah.
But we were able to kind of work it out together, figure it out together. And so I know it was the most convoluted, long, drawn out, most nonsensical, all over the place story on the planet. But that in the gist is the wildest thing that's ever happened to me in my short time in the field. Oh, Michelle's in there. I just noticed. Sorry, guys, I'm not checking comments. I am talking and
to be honest, it's the most wild thing that's happened to me. And I actually go charging into scary places like, let's go, come on. But that is the most wild thing that's ever happened to me as well. But I don't think it kind of goes back to what we're always telling you guys, that our energy, and Erin, I will continue to say this to everybody. She puts it in a very beautiful way that I think is very succinct, is that we glow differently to them. Mm-hmm. So somehow through the channels of live stream on the internet, this man, Noah, saw me and knew I could get word to who needed to have the word. And yeah. I did, and then they did, and then it was,
but it took you, Michelle, it took the whole staff of the farm, Zaphis, I really
to figure it out,
had to dig deep to try and try to not dig deep, and that I had these connections with these amazing people, but I had to dig deep myself to not kind of freak out once I figured it out, because of course, you hear the horror stories of attachments, and you hear,
yeah, and they're not always,
they're not
always great.
No.
If anybody has taken a tour of Ohio State Reformatory with Gary, he will tell you about his attachment, and it wasn't
not
anything like this or like this.
It's on the scale of attachments, it's the nicest attachment I guess you could probably have. But I think at the same point, it's like, I've learned so much in this field, and I think I don't believe in coincidences. So I've made all these amazing connections with all these amazing people. Each of these amazing people has a different breadth of knowledge and a different part to play in this. And all those people were instrumental. And it actually started with Carrie, because I don't know that it would have taken us a hell of a lot longer to figure out than if I was just a normal person watching Ghost Hunters and I'd never seen it before and didn't know anything about this stuff, and you're dealing with this, like, what do you do? Right.
And if I had not been so rattled, if I had just been like, well, that was weird, and just kind of powered through, the guy might still be yelling at me to get my attention today. Right. But, which is really quite funny. And Erin's not wrong in that you have to know when you're out of your depth.
Yeah.
You have to know when you are new at something and need help, which is interesting because I am an Aquarian. And so I am independent to a fault.
Yeah.
And I'm usually like, I don't need help. I'll figure it out, which is generally how I live my life, including my abilities now.
Yeah.
But with my abilities and being 5 months out from when Andrea blew my third eye open, even then I was like, okay, I need help. I don't know what this one is now.
Right. It's like, oh, this is the thing we're doing now. Oh, okay, great.
Oh, this is just what we're doing now. Right. Exactly. It wasn't like let's tiptoe her in. No, we're going to shove her off, and now she can channel. I didn't even know I was channeling. I just was hearing this guy screaming in my head. And then Erin's like, you were channeling him. And I was like, I don't even know if I'm sure if I know what that means. What do you mean channeling?
It was nuts.
So
it was nuts.
You always have to know when you're out of your depth. You always, hopefully, if you don't have somebody like a Michelle or like a Cody and Satori that can help you piece together things, hopefully you know someone who you can ask who might know someone.
Yeah. Yeah.
To help you. Because in those situations, you absolutely need to ask for help.
Yeah, because I think it's a situation where and I'm sure a lot of it was amped up too because of the thing, because by the time this all sort of came to a head and started kicking off was around the time things started getting squirrely with the current owner at the Conjuring House. So
I mean,
I
can't imagine having to deal with both.
Oh, it was awesome. Said no one ever. But that's, I will never stop singing the praises of my friends because, I've learned so much from all of these people, you included, and they've always come to my aid when I needed it. And that was an instance. And I wasn't like freaking out. It was like, okay, how do I handle this? Like, I'm not upset. I'm not freaking out. I think the scariest thing was that as an energy healer, I didn't recognize the change in my own energy for 4 months.
Yeah.
And I think she slipped in and attached when I was so exhausted at Ocean State that I almost couldn't function. And that was, when your defenses are down and your energetics are down, that's slide right in.
1,000%. And you're new, like you said, you were new to this whole world. I mean, yeah, you had been, working with Andrea as her handler and all of that, but being in the world and being world adjacent are two very different things.
Oh, I completely agree.
So I think that because you were still trying to just kind of get your bearings and find your footing,
right?
That probably contributed a lot too.
Yeah.
The wibbly wobbly that you were having with your own energy.
Yeah.
Wibbly wobbly. That's very Doctor Who of me. The timey-wimey, wibbly wobbly.
I used to think of Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down.
They don't fall down, yeah.
No, like Michelle, and I think this is true. You had yourself all over the place helping everybody else. Yeah, and I think
I agree with that 1,000%.
And that house, here's the other interesting thing. Carrie's never been to the Conjuring House. So it makes it even wilder that Noah picked her in freaking North Carolina.
Yes.
To start the train rolling on figuring this out.
Yeah.
Which is a testament to, I think, Carrie's abilities, because he's like, well, shit, Erin can't figure it out. I'm going to go to North Carolina,
Well, it was funny too, because I mean, I'm sure Cody and Story don't just walk around 24/7 holding hands, because I was like, there are other people that are there he could go to. But, and of course I thought about this probably months later, once I was like, but why me? But it became a situation where then that just kind of helped in my abilities, because the very first place, you guys who were on that town hall that we did the remote viewing, and George had me lead the remote viewing, the very first place that I ever tried to remote view was the farmhouse, when Erin was there by herself.
She moved my hair once.
I moved her hair.
She did. Walking into the house.
Yeah, I was like, did you feel that? And she was like, was that you? I had flicked her hair from her shoulder or something.
Yeah.
But it was creepy, and she was there by herself, and so I kind of was like, all right, let me check it out. I'm safe in my home. And so I just kind of wandered around the house. That's the only way I've ever been there, is I just I did remote viewing there.
Yeah, it was wild. And I think, with Anne, it was interesting too, because Anne Noah and Anne had never identified themselves apparently till I'd gotten on the property. Not to Cody and Satori, not to anybody else as far as I know. But Anne, when Reed was up there doing an investigation, I told her, I said, go talk to Reed. You can trust him. Any of the guys that work at the Conjuring House are okay. Not all men are, trying to convince her that not all men are shit.
Sure.
Be nice to my friends. And she came through on Spirit Box to Reed 20 minutes later, same day, something about I owned this on paper. That's not how she said it, but that was like the gist of it. Like she owned the house.
Oh, cool.
So from a historical perspective, what's interesting is it's known more as the Arnold estate. She was a Richardson. The house was that property and land was originally deeded to the Richardson family. Now there's some debate. Did Anne marry Noah, and that's how it became the Arnold estate? Obviously, women couldn't own that land, couldn't own any property at the time. Right. Or did her family sell the property to Noah? So there's that debate. We don't really know for sure. But Anne wanted people to know that she played an important role in that house. And of course, we figured out later that she was John Arnold's mother, who, of course, everybody knows who John is if they've
right,
for a while. So we shifted from this whole like attachment and oh God, what do I do, to like now I need to be her staunch advocate because she didn't have a voice.
Everything happens for a reason, and it sounds so cliche, but it absolutely does. Like all of these dominoes fell into place exactly how and when and with who that they were meant to.
Yeah. And then the worst part about it was, now after I set the boundary up with Noah, I never dealt with him again. I never saw him in the house. I think he would be at the farm sometimes when I was there, but he'd be outside.
Yeah.
Or in the kitchen.
I haven't seen him since you guys left.
But that's, we worked so hard, and then with all the chaos with the current owner, we lost all those connections, and that's the worst part. Because, there's that.
That's putting it nicely.
That's putting it nicely. Yes, well said. So, past experience 5 place being viewed was that. I'm terrible at viewing. I've only done it once on accident, and that was the farm. Weird.
You did it once on accident?
Yeah, I was like almost like lucid dreaming.
Oh.
And I was standing outside where, like, when you pull into the farm, the door you walk in, where the stone patio is there, like in this lucid dream, I'm standing out there and I'm looking at what would be Round Top Road. The road wasn't there, but neither was the barn. So I remember telling Roger, that was like right after I met Andrea and Roger.
Oh, okay.
I hadn't even been to the farm yet.
Oh.
And I remember two things. One, this upside down burlap, you'll remember this, Carrie. Creepy burlap sack upside down head with a blurred face popped in my vision and then left, and then couldn't see the barn. So I mentioned to Roger. He thought I had seen the thing that tormented Carolyn, the birds. He described it as like a hornet's nest looking face. But then he said the original barn, I didn't know at the time, the barn that's there now wasn't built till 1801. So whatever I was seeing was
predated that.
But yeah, so I know that was like a convoluted disaster. I should have written all this shit down because it's all over the place and some time's gone by now. But
God, who would have thought to write? I should document this thing that I don't know what is going. You know what I mean? Like hindsight's always 2020. Like in that moment, I wouldn't have.
Sue, very well could have been. Because I think there was also Edwin Arnold. Edwin Arnold was a drunk and he's not very nice. Noah just was very protective. And so that very much sounds like a Noah thing to say. Yeah. I would agree with you, Sue. Sue was working there. She left a couple months before we left. But she'd been in the house a bunch. She was a caretaker that would be there, once a month for a week.
Oh, yeah.
So she had a lot of experiences. But that would sound about right.
Yeah. That's what he kept saying to me was, this is a home. This is a home. Like, and it was I thought it was bizarre because this wasn't the first time that people had been in the house investigating.
No,
it wasn't the first time, but this one guy, and I actually think somebody asked, I think it was Mary Beth, that asked if the guy ever came back. The guy I think that might have been Mary Beth. Yeah. And she asked if that obnoxious guy ever came back.
Not until today, apparently.
No, the disrespectful man. Did he stay away?
I don't know. Because again, I wasn't at the farm that much.
That's the thing is that the people paid to do this investigation. Yeah. You know, they paid to go on this investigation for these events. So
yeah,
I don't know.
But it wouldn't be the first. I mean, Sue can attest to this. I mean, you had people who would come in there all puffed up. And then, you know, you'd see them running out screaming or covered in scratches. Because again, what you bring into that house energetically is exactly what you're going to get back. So if you walk into that house and you're going to be a dick about it, they're going to give it back to you.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, Jeff's got a couple of questions in here. Oh, we lost Carrie again. We'll see if she comes back. I know we're getting close to 9:30. We'll go a little bit over. Let me do this. Let me show you guys a couple pictures. I don't get to show some of these very often, and I have a video I want you guys to watch. So while Carrie's in we'll get to questions once Carrie comes back, because I think some of these questions she's better equipped to handle than I am. So let me show you guys. I pulled some of these up. These are kind of funny. So this was a blissfully unaware Erin of the chaos that was about to ensue.
What the hell?
I don't know. I was going to get to questions.
Drop right out?
Yeah, you just dropped out. You were gone. So I figure I'll show pictures in the video until she gets back. And then, because the questions that are in there, I think are going to need your input. You're probably going to know the answers to some of those better than I can. So this was a blissfully unaware Erin Bush. A day or two before the shit hit the fan with Anne. With my
witchcraft.
I love this guy. He's a New Englander, and he does Bartholomew the Ghost, and he's hilarious. He's on Instagram I'll put his stuff up, but he does funny skits. Anyway, blissfully unaware of the chaos that's about to ensue. I have a picture from movie night. It's not great, but it's the only one. So that's the fire pit in the lower field.
Ooh, that's a good picture.
Well, Ken was pouring an entire can of gasoline on that fire. Cody and Satori can attest to that. Ken will give him shit.
But I mean, the contrast between like the orange fire and then the blue like screen, it's really cool. I like that picture.
And then you can see in the back behind the screen, kind of one of the tents back there. Everybody's seen this picture, but this is my favorite picture I took of the farm. I love this photo.
I do love that photo.
And then this is my favorite tree. I am obsessed with this tree. That is my Honda HR-V. So it's probably about the size of a Subaru, but look how big that tree is. I love that tree. It's my favorite tree.
That tree is leaning. You know,
it might be me too. I don't know.
No, I mean, like I was looking at the ground, and that's like that tree.
It does look a little leany.
It does look a little leany.
It's
huge.
I used to hug it somewhat consistently, but I had to show off the tree because I forgot I even had that picture. Again, let me show
This is my favorite tree.
This is my favorite tree. Again, just to show you guys the grave. This is Noah Arnold. Who died in 1822. I do have more information on Noah. If anybody wants it, let me know. There's not a ton, but
in the 85 year of his age.
Yeah. And he married again and died before Noah. Noah remarried. But again, can't find Anne's grave, can't find anything about her, nothing. Yeah. The only thing I can find is on Find a Grave up towards the top. You'll see parents, Arnold Senior, but marriages, there's Anne Richardson. That's her approximate.
And then
date
Phoebe, and then Chloe. Phoebe. Okay.
Yeah. So he had two wives after.
Yeah. Children: John, Anna, Nathan, Chloe.
I think the July 21st, 1761 or 1768 is their marriage date. I actually have
their wedding date. Yeah.
I have found the handwritten records of their marriage. So I will, if I can remember where I put it, I'll pull it up. I'll share it.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I like the way that they used to inscribe headstones in the 85th year of his age. There's something, I don't know. I just thought that was beautiful. Yeah.
Like going to Salem and that old, famous cemetery, all the different headstones are just amazing.
I gotta go to Salem.
Oh, I gotta go back because we were there on a day we were off, and a lot of the things that we wanted to see weren't open because it was a Monday. But I want to go back.
Oh, yeah. Let me know when you go back. I'll drive up. I don't care.
Field trip. Do you want me to show this? So I took a video. This is and it's a minute long. We don't have to watch the whole thing. But what's interesting about this video, this was my very first trip to the farm, my very first walk into the woods.
Yes, you guys, if you've never been to the farm, which I've never been,
Right.
Actually been, this creeped me out.
So this is in June, and by rights, anywhere in New England, you're going to have birds, critters, the sound of squirrels running, you're going to hear stuff
In the woods.
The only thing I can hear in this is my own breathing and my footsteps. So you can turn it up if you want to, but you ain't going to hear anything. So I'll play. If you guys want me to play, I think it's about a minute long. But I want to see what you guys think, because I've never been able to show this publicly. I was told to keep this to myself as well. So we're just breaking all the rules tonight. So, but if you don't hear a lot of noise, that's because there ain't any. Hang on. Bet that water's cold. Forgot about that part. So,
sorry, real quick. What were the pink things that were tied everywhere?
I think those were either property markers or EPA wetlands surveys for the area.
Oh, okay.
But what was weird is, I didn't even think about it till I think I might have played it for you, Carrie, and you were like, there's no sound. And I didn't even think about it, but there's literally nothing. There should be crickets. They've always been there. It doesn't matter what Jacqueline says. The crickets have always been there. The crickets, you should have heard birds. You should have heard squirrels. You should have heard scurrying.
Even a breeze. A slight breeze. You can't even hear the creek.
There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. But then what's weird is when we went back that Halloween, same trip, went in the back, and I might have been with Julie Griffin again, walking it during the day. We walked over the bridge, back into the woods, and back in the woods, if you've ever been there, there's you get to a point where it's almost like a cross intersection. You can either keep going, which is no longer the farm property. You can go left or you can go right. And all I heard, same thing, no other noise in there other than this whooping. Like a real deep, like whoop. I don't even know how to describe it.
Like a bird, or
I mentioned
like
it to Corey.
Saying whoop.
We think was a Bigfoot. Because Corey mentioned to me, he's like, have you ever heard of the Sierra sounds? Which at the time I had not.
Oh my God.
Which, and then if you think about the silence, that makes sense. That seems to be a pattern with that kind of activity, is everything else goes silent.
God. Yes.
Now, Jonathan said there was a voice at the very end after you talk. I'll have to go have somebody with good equipment look at that for me.
Yeah, you can send that to me.
Pick up there, Jonathan. It might have also been Julie, because I was with two friends when we were walking in the woods.
Oh, okay.
It could have been either of the girls, but I'll go check and see. But for full disclosure, I was not by myself in the woods because I'm not that stupid. But
that's good to know, because I thought I heard a breath right immediately after you had a breath, and I was like,
well, but I don't think she was right on top of me, so that it'll be worth. I'll send it to you.
Okay, yeah, send it to you.
You have better audio stuff than I do. Sandy asked, was it hot that day? It was warm, but it was hot as hell in the house because it was June, but it wasn't like crazy hot. I remember I had leggings on and t-shirt and running shoes, and it was fine. It wasn't like,
oh my God, leggings. That very thought I'm like, ugh.
But even like today, it was 86 out here today, and birds and squirrels, and we're in rural Maine. So it's still just a weird kind of eerie
Well, and we're in a development like there's woods around us, but like obviously they've cleared out for my new development. We hear all of that.
Yeah.
All the time. There was nothing in that.
There was nothing. Nothing. It's weird.
That's why I was looking at the creek. I'm like, is it even flowing? And it was like, you should hear trickle. There's no trickle.
A lot of times during the day in June, all critters go quiet if it's hot. I could see that, but you would still hear them walking around, or it was like everything was watching. Like nothing was moving.
Yeah, no wind, no
nothing.
It's weird.
Now, in fairness, it's not really windy up there anyway.
But even like a breeze or something.
Nothing. Quiet.
That's
all right.
Crazy. Okay. Questions?
So let's get to a couple of questions that Jeff Hilton had.
Okay.
Question. I think this one's a two-parter. If an attachment moves closer to a possession, how can you separate without causing issue with the person that's been sharing minds?
How can you separate without causing issue with the person that's been sharing minds? That actually, that's a question for Michelle.
That's a Michelle Roos question.
Yeah.
And if she's probably already in bed because that girl works all the time and she gets up very early and she's in the Central Time Zone, but I will send that to her and get you.
Yes, we will get an answer for that one.
But on this point, when the thoughts and feelings be shared forever? I mean, I think potentially, maybe,
or like maybe like with Erin's, there were times where she didn't like remember certain things. So I guess it would be like going to Daytona. Yeah. I don't necessarily know if that would be the case, because there were,
I don't know, like
even with me when I was channeling Noah, I don't remember that. Like
it's almost like,
I mean, you could
instead.
Yeah, and that wasn't really like a possession, but still, channeling a spirit is.
This was like being jumped.
Yes.
I mean, quick in, quick out. It
my body, like in Ghost, when Patrick Swayze jumps into her body, it was like that.
Like that.
That was such an accurate, movie. So it was kind of like that. So I don't know if the thoughts and feelings would be forever shared. Maybe the ones that are remembered, but I don't know.
I mean, the only thing, and this isn't related to
position entirely.
Really, yeah,
that I'm doing.
I know when we were dealing with some darker stuff, I remember being at OSR and was talking to John Zaffis, and I didn't have any of his books. I'm like, okay, I need one of your books. Which one do I need to start with? And he's like, this one. And there's a particular line in there, and you're going to know exactly what it is when you see it. And I said, okay. So I read the book. Of course, I ate it in like a day because it was so good.
I love books like that.
The line was something, and I'm going to botch it because this isn't going to be verbatim, but it was something along the lines of, once something dark has had its eye on you, it will always have its eye on you.
Yeah.
So I think to some degree, energetically, there's a sharing that can occur.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like from an attachment perspective, like I didn't, as an empath anyway, she was basically, Anne was attached because she was trying to show me her anger, her sadness, her, frustration. Like those were the emotions that were coming out of me that aren't typically emotions I feel. Haven't had any issues with that since, unless it's something I have done on my own that I've created by myself with no help from spirit. Right. But there was never any lingering effects from that with her. Like I don't, I wish I could still talk to her. I mean, it worked real hard. I'd love to be able to have that connection, but that's another thing I can, I'm gonna actually screenshot this so I can ask Michelle about this tomorrow. And then his other question, and then we'll get ready to head out of here. How many people do you think have been put into insane asylums in the past due to attachments?
A bazillion.
Uncountable.
Because I mean, back then when asylums were, they were throwing people into asylums just because. You know what I mean? Books. Like Trans-Allegheny is one of my favorite places in the entire world. But Trans-Allegheny, the government would give them $10. Or no, the Trans-Allegheny would pay husbands $10 if they wanted to put their wives into the hospital.
Right.
For whatever reason. They read a novel, or they talked back, or they cried a little too hard, or whatever. Right. And they would, Trans-Allegheny would pay $10 to the husband. Okay, you send her here, we'll give you $10, because then they would get more government funding. So people that had attachments and didn't know, oh man.
Can't even imagine.
Can't even imagine.
Especially if you're in a, because I do think, and this is just my personal opinion, I am not a demonologist, I am not an exorcist, I am not an expert on attachments by any stretch of the imagination, but I have heard it more than once that when you are run down and you're not taking care of yourself energetically and there's already something going on, that's like kind of prime time. Or, you know, you're not running full bore. You're kind of like low on steam, like just exhausted, whatever. And Ken will tell you, we were all exhausted that week, and especially Ken, because he was running the thing, but nobody had any sleep. It was raining. It was, set up the tents, take down the tents, help, it was exhausting.
Yeah.
But looking back on it now, I don't ever think, I know she hated me at first, but I think the more time I spent up there, she very quickly figured out that I didn't want her man, but she had more to say. And so
which is just an interesting thing to find yourself in. Like, how do you explain?
Without sounding crazy, you can't.
Right. Right. And Erin and I have often have talked about this. Yeah. And it's like, this is lunacy.
It makes, and that was
it made us feel crazy, but we were like, this is actually what's happening in life.
Yeah. And I think, for a lot of me, and Ken made a good point today, like, I was warned not to tell the story when I brought it up to a friend, because of everything else that was going on.
Yeah.
But, like Ken said earlier, he's like, but you've processed it now. You've had time to kind of deal with it. Things have settled down. Like, all the other stuff has started to settle down. Knock on wood. But I've had time to kind of process it better. But for a long time, it was like, nobody is ever going to believe this shit. But like, I couldn't make this up even if I tried.
I'm not that creative.
I'm not either. And anybody I tell that's been in the field a long time, they're just like, are you kidding me? So,
yeah.
I say all this to say, and I know it's not normally like a paranormal show, but the tie-in for me with the metaphysical stuff is to stay in your own lane. Know when you're out of your realm of knowledge, and don't be afraid to reach out to people who know a hell of a lot more than you do.
Yeah.
Be open to suggestions. Don't always assume that you have to have, because, you've got something going on spiritually that it has to be ripped out or cords cut, or, it doesn't have to be this pig hole thing. You are still dealing with a spirit who's upset about something. So as a living person, and for me and for you and most of the people in this audience, we are empathetic people. We care about the spirit. So it when Michelle said to me, like, maybe you need to help her find her voice, it was like, okay. But I had to be willing to put myself out there with her.
Yeah.
And allow that to sort of take place. But, don't be afraid to call friends for help. We don't know everything. If we knew everything, we wouldn't be sitting in this show and having any of these conversations that we have all the time. So be a student.
Even psychics don't know everything.
Exactly.
So if you find a psychic that is like, I know all, I see all, no, run. They're lying.
Exactly.
We only know what spirit wants us to know, and no more, no less. That's it. And we know it when they want to tell us.
Mr. DaCosta.
Hiatus. This Sunday's guest on Dead Air will be Brian. Ooh, yay.
So they were supposed to be here a couple weeks ago. They had to reschedule. If you are not familiar with Brian and Rochelle, or you only know Brian and Rochelle from TV, they are literally two of the funniest human beings I have ever had the pleasure of hanging out with in my life. Like, New Jersey, my face hurt.
Erin could not say enough amazingly kind and wonderful things about them after New Jersey. Like, we talked the very next time, like, how'd it go? And she was like, oh my God, I found more people for our weird tribe.
They are so much fun.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting them one day. Are they going to be at Gettysburg?
I can't see why they wouldn't be, but I'd have to ask.
I'd have to check. Yeah.
I don't remember, but they are so funny. Jen and I we were laughing.
Our kind of people. The whole absolutely our kind of people. I can't wait.
So that'll be Sunday. Cool. And also stay tuned for more Extremely Strange. I know they're going to be getting the last bites coming up here Not sure when, but they're working on that. Cody and Satori will be next Thursday. And I always forget to tell people to like the video. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel,
yes, like, subscribe, notification bell.
The notification bell. I'm so bad about that.
Yeah.
And then I just want to thank everyone for letting me ramble on about this chaotic, insane, bullshit, crazy time in my life.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot, enough to where I got the coordinates of the Conjuring House tattooed on my arm, and people are like, "Oh, is it because you had your job?" I'm like, "No, that place changed me as a human."
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Nobody loves a job so much that they're going to get the coordinates tattooed on them. Like, nobody is going to do that. But yeah, it definitely changed me as well. Just because, again, it was one more ability that I got or had or was given or whatever. I don't know even how I want to say I get these, but that is actually one of my more powerful abilities. So the other thing I do want to say in reference to Jeff's question about the asylums is that I am actually going back to Trans-Allegheny in August to do another investigation, and it'll be the first time I'm back at Trans-Allegheny since my abilities came in. We're going to be doing the medical forensics and geriatric building. So I will be finding out as much as I possibly can with regard to Jeff's question.
Well, and it'll be interesting too to do like a debrief for you after that to see your experiences based on all the spiritual metaphysical work you've done since the first wit. It'll be interesting to have like a debrief for you on that to see how that sort of played out for you.
Yeah. I don't know why. I'm probably gonna like ask my Akashic records or whatever, but I have such an affinity
for that place.
Like I actually, before Rebecca Jordan Gleason moved to Spain, she was looking for a new secretary, like for herself, a new like assistant, and I actually applied for it. And I had an interview, and she was like, I'm like, can it be done from home? Because I'm here in North Carolina. You're 6 hours from me. I'm happy to drive up there like twice a month if I need to be. And she was like, I wish like I was willing to do whatever. I don't know what it is about.
We all have our place.
I love that place. And I love the Jordan family for what they're doing with it. If I could be a tour guide and go up there and do tours every other weekend, I would.
Yep. Just don't have a colonial spirit decide it has a crush on you, and don't let him be married, and don't look like his wife. If you can avoid
look like his wife, Erin, what does the matter with you looking like his wife?
Oh shit. So
anyway, so yeah, I will definitely look into that, Jeff, as far as like asylum. Like, how many of you were in here because you had an attachment? And do you still have it? As
what, an attachment?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, the ghosts of Trans-Allegheny. Were you in here because you had an attachment? And do you still have that attachment? What is happening? Do they last forever?
Oh man.
Would they even understand what that means? Yes. Guys, write your questions down. I swear I will ask it on my investigation. Zach's coming with me. I've got a whole bunch of folks. Zach's got a ton of new toys. So we're going to go and investigate these other buildings we haven't had an opportunity to investigate yet. But send me your questions that I will 1,000% ask.
What if we put up a post about Tala that people can send all your questions to?
Yeah. I will.
Spot?
That's a good question.
And yeah. So that's all I had. The word vomit I had. I know half of that was all over the place in squirrel, but welcome to the.
It actually wasn't. You really told this story very succinctly.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot. But you know, you were ready, and
was I? I mean, was I? Are you really ready for that ever?
I mean, you were ready to tell the story.
Oh, tell the story. Yes. Was I ready to go through the story?
No. Go through. No. Neither one of us were ready. But yeah, you told it very succinctly and you were ready to tell the story. And I know that like you talked to me about it and you talked to Cody and story. Like
I talked to all my peeps.
Your peeps. Noah wasn't ready. Yes, exactly. Noah was not ready.
Having a woman air his dirty laundry is probably his least favorite thing. But if he wants to be big mad at me, he can.
I know. Yeah. I mean,
I've always handled this situation with as much respect and kindness as I can. And I want Anne's story to be told more than I am worried about Noah being pissed off.
Well, yes, exactly. And like you can like thunder and, you know, cause the electricity to go out or the Wi-Fi or whatever. But once you involved us, it also became our story.
Yeah.
Which gave us the ability to tell it.
And it's a place we all love. So,
and we love you, Noah. It's not like, you know, we didn't say horrible things about you.
There's been no judgment really on Noah. I mean, the times were different then, but for Anne needed to know that things aren't that way anymore. And it's okay to have a voice. Yeah. So I appreciate everyone's hanging out all this time. And we're going to have a really awesome show in 2 weeks, but we'll keep that a secret, but it will tie in quite nicely to this discussion. And
yes, that's a very good point. Once they said they wanted to hear his story, they stopped.
Yeah.
The thunder and lightning and everything didn't stop, but the tech issues did.
Yeah. And it's weird because I can't feel him in the room. So I don't know.
I can't either. I don't feel her. I don't feel, but I haven't in a very long time.
Me either.
In a very long time.
But that could change in the next couple of days. And if anything changes in the next couple of days, we'll let you know.
We'll let you know. Anyway, all right. Well, I'm sorry that you guys didn't get to hear Cody sing.
He's got a really good voice, but everybody knows that.
He really does. That birthday video that we did for you, and he was like, "Hello, bud." I was like, "That's really." He's got a really good voice. But listen, they're going to be on next week, and maybe we can get him to sing then.
Excellent. That'll be a life mission. All right, guys. Thanks for your time. Guys. And if you have any questions, let me know. We love you guys. Thanks for hanging in. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.